It's about the restoration of our republic. We want to educate, encourage, enable the power. We stand for integrity, honesty, self-reliance, self-defense, and most importantly, no compromise on our foundational principles. This is America's Voice Now.
Find America's Voice Now on Facebook and at americasvoicenow.org. Here's Michael Evans.
All right. We're back. You're listening to America's Voice Now, and my name is Michael Evans. I am your host this morning, like it or not. In fact, this is my radio program, so I'm your host every day. Isn't that just a joy? Isn't that just special? I used to love that Saturday Night Live skit they would do. I think it was the church lady. She always made me laugh. Isn't that just special? Anyway, we are in the midst of our program this morning. We've been talking about Social Security and how it's been squandered and stolen by the carpetbaggers and the scoundrels in Washington, not just in recent time, but for the last 50 years. They've been dipping into that like it's their own personal ATM and tiptoeing out of the room, stealing and spending your money with abandon, drunken abandon. Secondarily is minimum wage. Is it really good for the nation? We just covered that topic, and if you missed it, you can jump over and catch it on YouTube. We put all these programs up on YouTube, and you can watch them or listen to them at your leisure. You can also call our listen line at any time you'd like, and you can capture an entire program at your leisure and convenience on a phone. So you can actually listen to radio by phone. That's how Audio Now produces it. And you can call 415-325-0725. 415-325-0725. When you dial that, you'll hear a quick recording that's about 8 seconds long. It says, you'll be listening to America's Voice radio program, and boom, the program starts, and it just runs all the way, the whole 100 minutes of it. Gives you a chance to listen while you're on a long drive in the car. Maybe if you're a guy who works, out on the road, and you want to be able to, in between stops, you want to listen. Maybe you don't have access to our terrestrial radio stations or the internet. It's a perfect way to listen, totally free of charge. Costs you nothing. It is a toll call, but it costs you nothing to use the service. And they don't charge us to offer it to you. So, audionow.com is the name of the group that produces it for us, and I am very grateful to them. All right, our topic for this segment is a nation of secrets and how that is exposing us to a nation racing towards tyranny. The reason I say that is because anytime you have a nation that is working and operating in secrecy, you have the table is set for easy abuse. And because the old adage of power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely, and the more you get, the more corrupt you become, lives and thrives and feeds on secrecy. Like a cancer feeds on sugar, tyranny feeds on secrecy. Now, I posted an article up on our Facebook page and our website and Patriot FB page this morning. The article is from Wired Enterprise, Wired magazine. Wired, by the way, is a great magazine. I really like what they do, and I like the way they couch their, they're just a great organization. And they cover the gamut. They try not to get too political, but they don't ignore political realities, and they don't couch it and try to cover it up and make it, sweet and nice and all that. They're definitely, they definitely tell it like it is. Anyway, the topic for this article from Wired magazine is, why does the NSA want to keep its water usage a secret? And, it's true. I mean, what is the big deal? I mean, everything is a secret now, right? We're going to talk about why Michelle Obama's vacation is a secret in just a moment, too. A national security agency has many secrets, but here's a new one. The agency is refusing to say how much water it's pumping into the brand new data center it operates in Bluffdale, Utah. According to the NSA, its water usage is a matter of national security. The agency made the argument in a letter that they sent to officials in Utah, who were considering whether or not to release the data to the Salt Lake Tribune. Back in May, the Tribune reported that Tribune reporter Nate Carlisle had asked for local records relating to the data center in a Freedom of Information Act, but when he got his files a few months later, the water usage data was redacted, blacked out. By computing the water usage rate, one could ultimately determine the computing power and capabilities of the Utah data center. That's the NSA's Associate Director for Policy and Records. I mean, come on, guys. Armed with this information, one could then deduce how much intelligence NSA is collecting and maintaining. That is such a bogus pile of nonsense garbage. That's like sitting there and saying, based on how much data, right, your computer has used, that they can tell exactly what you're looking at. Well, they can't unless they look at the actual stream. But just sitting there and noting that, Bob used 2 gigabytes of data on his DSL connection doesn't give them any idea of what you used that 2 gigabytes for. You might have used it to get 1 million emails. You might have used it to watch 2 movies. You might have used it to send some photographs to grandma and gotten 500,000 emails. I mean, it's absurd. The point is this. The nation has turned into an overclassification monster. And I do mean monster. Everything is a national secret. No one is allowed to know. And everything, here's the problem. It's bleeding out of federal and into state and local government. The tone has been set from on high that it's okay to tell your citizens you're not entitled to know. And that is not true. We are entitled to know. It's our money, it's our government, it's our country. I went to a school board meeting not so long ago in Willow Springs for Common Core. And Common Core, if you don't know what it is or where I stand on it, just go look it up on YouTube and catch one or two of my videos. But it is a deplorable federal takeover of the education system. And when you go to these school board meetings, you walk in and generally the first thing that happens is they tell you that the school board meeting starts at X o'clock, right? And if you get there at X o'clock, they tell you, well, they're in the closed portion of the meeting. And, you have to wait outside. So you wait outside for a half an hour or an hour or whatever it is, and then they open the meeting up. And then they hold the meeting open for 15 minutes, and they have a couple of students come in and do a dog and pony show, or they hand them a plaque, or they read the budget out loud, and then everybody, uniformly goes, Sieg Heil, I vote for it. And the next thing you know, they say, okay, meeting is closed to the public. We're going to go into our second private session. It's like, what? What are you discussing during this? Well, these are teacher and personnel issues, and of course, they're not subject to public scrutiny. My PhD qualifies me to determine what is in the best interest of the students, irrespective of whether. You know what? Shut the heck up, you punk. 12 years of indoctrination in a school does not qualify you to make determinations on what is and what is not secret. I grant you, I don't need to know or why a teacher's being fired for insubordination or something like that. But you know what? I am so tired of every little department. City council meetings are now doing it. Well, they go into closed session because these are issues which, of course, hey, you know what? If I'm going to pay you taxes and I'm paying your salary or I'm paying you to be here, then dagnabbit, I want to know everything that goes on in my city. Well, then you can run for city council if you would like to know all those secrets. Make me sick. And it doesn't just stop at little Hitlerian meetings like school boards and city councils and county commissioner meetings and state meetings. It's everything. I mean, Michelle Obama is taking another vacation. They're not calling it a vacation, of course. They're calling it a people-to-people exchange. What is that? Michelle's going to swap spit with the premier of China? It's a vacation. She's taking the 2 children and her mother, and guess what? There will be no reporters allowed. Why is that? Well, their argument is that Michelle Obama's trip to China starting on Wednesday will be non-political. Non-political? Listen. When Michelle eats an egg sandwich in the morning, that's political. Michelle doesn't do anything that's unpolitical, non-political. In fact, neither of the Obamas does. And you see, here's the problem. With this government, it's all about labeling. With this government, it is all about couching things as something they're not. In this case, this is just another in a long line of extraordinarily expensive vacations that have all been taken at taxpayer expense by the Obamas and by let 'em eat cake Michelle. That would be Michelle Antoinette Obama. She is a woman who is completely comfortable with ravaging her own nation in her juvenilistic hissy fit of rage and racial hatred and national hatred for the country, which has given her so much. I've actually never feared a president's wife before. I mean, the first lady is usually not someone that, you look at and go, ah! You don't hold up the crucifix crossed fingers like as if it's a vampire. Until Michelle. Because this one has a seething hatred for her own nation and her people. Oh, I'm sorry. Not for the black people, because she doesn't consider the white people her people. There is probably no one who is more exemplifies the face of reverse racism than Michelle. She is a scavenging opportunist, and she is seething with hatred for this country. And she is a national thief of our resources at her very best. There's no reason for a secret rendezvous in China other than the fact that it's a national security issue. She's going on a person-to-person my foot. People-to-people, excuse me. I want to use the right language. A people-to-people exchange, which emphasizes the importance that both nations place on education. Please. The New York Times says, as if to underscore the point, no reporters are traveling with the First Lady, and she does not plan to give interviews while there. The White House is defending the First Lady bringing her family along for the ride by saying it's what the Chinese would want. You're kidding me. I tell you what the Chinese would want. The Chinese would like nothing more than for Michelle and Barack to come over there and do a little apology dance. Their excuse is Tina Chen, Ms. Obama's chief of staff, and a first-generation Chinese American. Oh, stop right there. She's not Chinese American then. I don't care if she's first generation or 10th generation. She is an American who happens to be Chinese. Michelle Antoinette. Anyway, they say that Tina Chen, Ms. Obama's chief of staff, and a first-generation Chinese American, said a multi-generational visit would be appreciated by the Chinese, who value tradition. Listen, folks, if this doesn't make you laugh, belly laugh, at the hypocrisy and the absolute sheer audacity, arrogance, and hubris of this piece of human garbage, nothing should. There's another report out that says Ms. Obama is drawing scrutiny for her decision to travel with her mother and her 2 daughters, who are on spring break, bringing to mind a vacation she took to Spain in 2010 with her daughter Sasha and a coterie of friends. She and her entourage paid for their lodging and entertainment, but the security cost taxpayers tens of thousands of dollars, and the trip was criticized as lavish. Some conservative commentators are calling the Obama trip a junket. The White House will not say how much it will cost. How convenient. It's a matter of national security, of course. See, when everything is a matter of national security, folks, you are living in a world of tyranny. When your Freedom of Information Act request is blocked or just ignored, I present to you the EPA. I present to you the FAA, the ATF, CIA, FBI, NSA, the FDA, the USDA, the BLM. I mean, I can go on. We've only got 7 minutes left in this segment. I mean, I can rattle off 3-letter alphabet soup agencies all day long because there are thousands of them. And most of them do the same thing. Nothing. Nothing but suck the blood, the lifeblood, the revenue blood, the ingenuity blood of Americans. The truth of the matter is, they only exist because it's illegal for us to condemn them to death. Not a single agency in this nation, with the exception of 2, has a right to its existence. Not 1. 2. That's it. They are Border Patrol and Commerce. Both of those are specifically given delineated duties and obligations and limitations under the Constitution. Everything else, every other agency, has been created by Congress without your authority, because you never gave them delegated power of authority to then hand off and subdelegate to unaccountable, unelected people who don't even take an oath. Did you know that people in the USDA, as an example, and all of these federal agencies, they don't take an oath of office? So who is their allegiance to, if not the Constitution? But they're all secrets. You can't know what we're doing, because we wouldn't want our enemies in Iraq and Iran to know that we are spending money on seeds. Give me a break. USDA. I mean, you got to be kidding me. But everything's a secret. What it comes down to is that everything's a secret, because if you are able to see what they're doing and what they're using your money for, well, frankly, we'd have taken them out to the community stocks right now, and we'd be horsewhipping them. You know, I mean, I'm giving the example, and I'm going to delve off on this for a minute, because this is an important story. I posted an article up about it, can this boy's life be saved? And this kind of runs along the same line of a secret, but it's a little bit different. This is how an agency controls this is how an agency controls a whole industry. There's a group of doctors that, there's a little boy here whose life could be saved, but they won't allow the FDA won't allow this experimental drug to be used. And there's another example, Well, we haven't approved it yet. So the kid's dying, for crying out loud. What difference does it make whether or not he takes an experimental drug? As long as his parents are willing to allow him to happen, or if an individual is willing to take a drug and they are of age of their own to make that determination and decision for themselves, who are you to say they can't? Well, it's a secret until we've made a determination. No, what it means is that you haven't been bribed enough yet. Why don't we know what the healthcare law numbers look like? Well, it's a secret. What's a secret? You're bragging about how many people have created an account, but you won't tell us how many have actually bought something. Why is that a secret? How do you justify that with national security? You don't. You justify that with tyranny. That's the only way you can justify that. The NSA's got to keep its water usage a secret. They might figure out how many times we flush the toilet, and therefore they could determine exactly how many employees we have in the building at any given moment. You got to be kidding me. I mean, not to mention the fact that, we're only talking here about people who, for all intents and purposes, are still wiping their butt with their hand in their home country, right? They don't even have a calculator. They've got an abacus. And you're worried about they're going to figure out how many people are working there based on how many times the toilet was flushed? Please. I mean, the justifications are so ridiculously absurd, it's insulting. And all of it comes down to one thing. Only tyrants thrive on secrecy, just like cancer thrives on sugar. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to tackle our last topic, which is the ATF, who is a rogue gang of thugs, criminals, murderers, and the founders have told us so. I'm going to prove it to you. Make sure you tune in for that segment. It's definitely worthwhile. We'll be back in just a minute. You're listening to America's Voice now.